Finance? He created PayPal. Automotive? Well, if you haven't heard of Tesla, I'm concerned about you. How about biotech? Well, if you haven't heard of Neuralink, you should give it a Google. I think it will blow your mind. And we can't forget space. He created SpaceX too. Of course, I'm speaking of the one-of-a-kind Elon Musk. And although you may not want to repopulate Mars with the human species, the way that he studies and learns is something that you can apply to your own goals and your own dreams. So how does he do it? How does Papa Muskie manage to dominate 4 industries in just one lifetime? To unpack Elon's secrets, I took a deep dive into his history to understand how he goes about learning, studying, and most importantly, applying knowledge across a wide range of industries. And be sure to stick around to the end, because not only are we going to discover how Elon does this, but we're going to discover how we can take his methods and apply them to our own life. Of course, if at any point you find this video helpful or beneficial or entertaining, please consider hitting that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Elon's approach to knowledge and learning can be summarized with a concept known as first principles. And that's a term that's thrown around a lot, so let me define that quickly. A first principle is a base assumption that cannot be deduced from another assumption. To break that down into plain English, first principles are prior established facts from which you can reach conclusions. And practically, that means that first principles provide the foundation from which we can solve our problems. Let's use an example to illustrate first principles so it's a little bit more clear. Take the NBA. The NBA has a specific set of rules within which players and coaches must operate. The rules represent the first principles, and within those first principles, players and coaches alike get to play the game. But here's the catch. Within those rules, coaches and players can do whatever they like. As long as they don't break the rules, they can play the game however they see fit. The very best coaches and players create new strategies to shift the basketball paradigm in order to answer the biggest question and the biggest problem within basketball, which is how to win the game. That example explains why first principles are so profound. They provide the parameters within which you get to play the game, but within that box, you can play however you like. And the trap that we get into is playing the game like it's always been done. But the very best players in any game innovate and create new strategies to answer the biggest problems within that game. Elon excels at understanding the rules of the game, and doing so very quickly because he uses a first principle basis. After he understands the rules, after he understands the box that he's working in, he realizes that he doesn't necessarily need to play the game the way it's always been done. Elon holds an underlying belief that there must be a better way to do something. Here's an incredible quote from Elon that I want to read just a portion of, and I'll throw it up on the screen now. He says, "Somebody could say, and in fact people do, that battery packs are really expensive, and that's just the way that they will always be because that's the way they've been in the past." Well, no, that's pretty dumb, Elon says. If you read the full quote on the screen, you can see what Elon's getting at here. He's talking about horses and carriages and cars. And if we had just been satisfied with horses and carriages and applied the same logic that some people apply to big problems today, we never would have had cars because we should have just been satisfied with horses and carriages. I think all of us are very glad that we have cars today and we don't have to ride horses around everywhere. The way Musk would describe this problem is that humans are bound by working in analogy. We like to do things because they've been done that way. And breaking out of that box is really challenging. And one of the only ways to do it is by using a first principles basis to understand problems. Here's where things really get interesting. Musk views knowledge like a tree, and the trunk of his tree are first principles. And coming up, the big branches and the leaves, that's all the knowledge that he acquires over time. Your ability to understand the branches and the leaves, all this new knowledge that you're acquiring, really depends on your fundamental understanding of first principles, or the trunk. If you don't have a good grasp of the first principles, your tree will look sickly and dead. And so really what Musk is saying is that first principles are the core of real knowledge. With this analogy, you can start to see how things started to connect for Musk at a very early age. With him starting PayPal, that's when his tree really started to grow. That base of first principles related to financial technology created the foundation for the rest of his entrepreneurial success. With this method, he's been able to master multiple disciplines, whether that's automotive or finance or space or biotech. This sort of approach to knowledge where he is growing the base of his tree first with first principles allows him to move extremely quickly across disciplines, and it's just remarkable. So what's really going on here is that while Musk has become a master of multiple disciplines, he's actually grown more than one tree. In fact, you could say that he's grown a forest of first principles, multiple trees in multiple industries. And as those trees grow, those trees overlap with one another, and he benefits immensely from that overlap. Musk is keenly aware that he approaches problems in this way, and he thinks others should too. I'll leave this quote here for you to think about. Musk says, "I think most people can learn a lot more than they think they can. They sell themselves short without trying." At this point in the video, you are probably asking yourself, this is great and all. We know Musk is a genius. That's no mystery. But how does this help me? That's a fair point. I think if you apply first principles to your own life in order to solve the problems that you're facing, whether that's a dream or a goal, or even studying in school, this method can be applied to solving any problem in your life, and it can reframe the way that you go about solving. Again, you most likely aren't trying to build rockets at a fraction of the cost that they used to be built at. But you do have problems in your own life that need solving, and I have problems in my own life that need solving. And so if there's anything we can glean from the way that Musk solves problems, it could be very helpful for our own lives. Based on everything I've learned about Musk, here's what I recommend. Start asking why on a regular basis. Ask the question why about everything you approach. It might be questions about life, or about certain processes, or about your own decisions, why you've arrived at a certain place in your life like you have. Start asking that question more frequently in your life. And if you're interested in more, you can go read up on the Socratic method. There's a long philosophical background on the power of the question why. It can take you to some pretty incredible places and help reframe the biggest problems in your life and really help you get to the root of what's going on. In a more practical sense, ask the question why when you're in school. Ask why things are the way they are. When you're struggling with a certain term or concept or principle in a class, try to ask that question why of the material and understand the background. How did this rule come to be? Why was it created the way that it was? That sort of thinking is going to help you get to the very root of the problem. In addition to asking why, I would recommend trying to be more self-aware when you are facing certain scenarios or problems or big decisions in your life. We do have a tendency, like Musk talks about, to make analogous decisions, meaning we like to make decisions that are based on what's always been done. And it can be tough for us to break out of the box. So strive to be more self-aware, asking the question why, and see the problem more objectively. Maybe you'll find a new solution that you hadn't thought of previously, or that no one else has thought of. Finally, in addition to asking why and becoming more self-aware, I would recommend building your own forest. Start growing your own forest of knowledge. We all have certain areas of interest or expertise in life, and those areas can have overlap. To give you an example, I have an interest in personal development, but I also have an interest in personal finance and my own career. If I build those trees, I create my own little forest, and those areas do have overlap. For instance, if I grow my personal development tree, that's going to influence how I operate in my career, how I operate in the workplace, how I treat other people. It's not only going to benefit me, personal development is about yourself, but it's going to have overflow into all of my relationships, including that other area of knowledge, my career. Take some time and think for yourself, what would your trees be? What little mini forest are you trying to grow? And what overlap exists there? You may not even know all of the overlap that could be right now. As time progresses, you're going to see more and more. But try to map it out a little bit and see how these different areas of your life would benefit the other. I think we would all say that Elon's life speaks for itself. And this method, his method of solving problems, really has left a tremendous impact on the world. If you found this content valuable, you might enjoy my weekly newsletter. You can sign up at calmills.substack.com, where I talk about other things that interest me and topics similar to this channel. So if you want to sign up, feel free to click the link down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.